I'm Nick Payton-Walsh in Mykolaiv, Ukraine, and this is CNN.
So President Zelensky says at least 17 people were wounded in the bombing of a maternity and children's hospital in the besieged city of Mariupol. The horrifying scene sparking international outrage. Zelensky asking tonight why this hospital was a threat to Russia and renewing his plea for more help from Western allies as the humanitarian situation worsens. Dmytro Gorin joins me now. He is a member of the Ukrainian parliament, and we're so glad that he's here with us this evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
As I understand, your parents have been sheltering from Russia shelling in Mariupol, and we know the maternity hospital there was bombed. You say your childhood home and your school were bombed as well. Can you speak to us about how dire the situation is for Ukrainians stuck in the city?
My parents are in Mariupol. There is no heating, there is no electricity, water, gas. Mobile networks, and any communications, transport, supply of food, supply of water, supply of medicines, and -7 by Celsius. Yeah. And so below freezing. And they live in a basement. My building where I grew up was hit by artillery. My school, my university was destroyed by air bombing. And in these territories there is no any military infrastructure and never were. And because of constant shelling, all this infrastructure, civil infrastructure, cannot be repaired. Bodies are on the street already. We have in Mariupol mass graves. Yesterday it's more than 30 people. Today it's 50 people. And it's a medieval siege. It's a humanitarian disaster because people melt snow to have water. And in 3 to 5 days, the food will be over in the city. And the hunger will begin. And it's more than 300,000 people. It's around 350 to 400,000 people. And a week ago, we have ordinary war. And we asked you, all of you, USA and NATO countries and European Union, we asked to help, and you helped. But now, it's not an ordinary war anymore. It's now just a terror of residential areas and civil people. And
you said not just an ordinary war anymore, it's terror. You said of peaceful people. When was the last time you spoke with your parents? Are they okay?
I know that they're alive. That was in midday yesterday. I talked with them 3 days ago. There is no cell phone network there. There are only several spots in the city where I can go to catch a mobile network. And because of shelling, it's pretty. It's really. It's really dangerous, and really, it's not the war anymore. And if you are just pretending now it's a war, so you're accomplices. And President Zelensky said, what was it with maternity hospital? Is it military infrastructure? Is my university or the building of my parents' military infrastructure? All the buildings around the building where I grew up was hit by artillery. All of them, every one of them. The old district where 150,000 people live, where I grew up, near the sea, it's totally destroyed. It has to be demolished after the war.
Well, Dmytro, I want to continue speaking with you. And I can feel your passion, and I want to know what's happening with other families. And what about these places where people are hiding? How much longer they can do it? And I want to also show you some of the images and get your response. So right after this break, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Dmytro. So back with me now, a Ukrainian member of parliament, Dmytro Gorin. So Dmytro, we have these new satellite images showing the before and after images of the devastation of Mariupol from this invasion. Homes, grocery stores, shopping malls, all destroyed. I mean, these are not military locations. And then we had this new video from earlier this week. It's of protesters in Kherson showing remarkable courage and anger in the face of Russian occupiers. Listen to this. So you have the destruction and then people showing incredible courage. Even if Russia can take Ukraine, in the face of resistance like this, could they ever hold it?
In Kherson, they had 400 people yesterday, the Russian special police, and that means all these 400 people are dead as for now. And that they took prisoners, and they don't, they don't put them in the jail. Trust me. And that means that it's the same terror. And in Mariupol, they're mining escape roads. They shoot their cars, civil cars that are trying to go out from the siege. They're shelling their convoys of humanitarian corridors. And trust me, in 2 years, they will ask everybody will ask themselves, what did we do when Putin started to just kill these people because these people resist? And you will need to ask your children, your children in 10 years, what did you do when Putin just decided to kill millions of people? It's not just an ordinary war anymore. We all resist and we will win. So he decided to kill us all.
Dimitro, we thank you. Are you still there? I think he's still there. Dimitro, I wasn't sure if your shot had frozen. Listen, we really appreciate you joining us. Your courage is commendable. And please come back and update us on what's happening in Ukraine. Thanks so much, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Refugees flooding across borders, civilians taking up arms as Russian shelling becomes more indiscriminate and more destructive. Stay with us. This is Don Lemon tonight. Our breaking news. As Russia's bombardment of Ukraine turns bloodier by the day, the White House now warning Russia could decide to use chemical or biological weapons, and Putin might even make up a false flag lie using them. That warning coming as Russia's accused of bombing a maternity and children's hospital in Mariupol, the southern city that Russia's been pummeling for days. And the refugee crisis in Ukraine growing. The UN saying more than 2 million people have fled the country since Russia's invasion began 2 weeks ago. We're going to get straight now to Ukraine and CNN's Michael Holmes. He's live for us tonight in Lviv. Michael, these images are heartbreaking. A mother carried out on a stretcher by volunteers, and then this pregnant woman all bloodied up, trying to make her way down a damaged flight of stairs. What more are you learning about this unfathomable attack at a maternity hospital?
It's outrageous, Don, and there is outrage in this country, around the world for that matter, at what happened at that hospital in Mariupol. The president of this country saying the bombing is proof of a genocide of Ukrainians. He said that in a video message posted to Telegram late on Wednesday night. Now, I want to just get these satellite photos up, Don. I know you have them. I think we can show a photo of the hospital before the attack, and then another image of the after. And in the eyes of the world of this brutal and callous attack. And the after, just trying to get your head around the scale of that. Look at the person in there. There's a person in there. That shows you how huge these blasts were. Russia, well, I guess they're just trying to get their message straight. You had the Russian ambassador to France. He said, essentially, it wasn't us. He said it wasn't Russia. The Russian foreign ministry spokeswoman, incredibly perhaps, accused Ukraine of using the hospital for combat positions and clearing out the patients. But as you say, the videos, photographs, they show otherwise. That heavily pregnant woman being carried out after the bombing, staff as well, bodies being collected. There's images of that. It's pretty easy to make a denial or an accusation or a deflection, but the images really speak for themselves, Don.
Horrifying. And more images really speaking for themselves. Incredibly disturbing images just into CNN, but we feel it is important to show the true cost of war. Michael, these are from a mass grave in Mariupol. Ukrainians are burying their dead. horrifying.
It's unbelievable. It's a scene out of I don't know what. It's hard to watch. It's important to see. On top of no water, no food, no electricity, there is the death toll. The mayor says 1,300 dead in Mariupol. He first said a few days ago, or a week or so ago, it was dozens, then it was hundreds, now into the thousands. Now, we can't confirm those numbers ourselves independently, but just look at the images. These people, Don, a few weeks ago were living normal lives. They were going to work. They were sending their kids to school, going shopping. The mayor had said in the past days that they hadn't been able to collect or bury the dead. Well, now they can in mass graves, in trenches, dehumanizing, frankly sickening, and, thousands of the living are still trapped inside that ongoing hell, Don.
Yeah. Michael Holmes will be anchoring our live coverage from Ukraine in about an hour. So thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. I want to play one of the calls for help in the moments right after the hospital was attacked. And I have to warn you again, this one is disturbing as well.
Давай. Артобстрел.
Joining me now is Alexei Sorokin. He is the politics editor for the Kyiv Independent, currently in Western Ukraine. We really appreciate you joining us. You've been reporting extensively on this war that is ripping apart your country. The images of the attack on the maternity hospital are just horrific, Alexei. But you say the whole city of Mariupol is getting destroyed. Talk to us about that. Tell us about what's going on.
Yes, the city of Mariupol is encircled by the Russian troops for the past 7 or 8 days. The city is cut off from food, water, medicine, doesn't have electricity. The city was home to 400,000 people, now is on the verge of a humanitarian catastrophe.
Do people in cities like Mariupol, do they have enough food and enough water to survive right now? We've been getting reports from people who are there that people are even melting snow in order to have drinking water.
According to our reports, there is not enough food and water. People have their everything they had already done. So that's why the mayor was pleading Russia for allowing a humanitarian corridor to mainland Ukraine. Ukraine and Russians met for 3 times, and the main question was allowing a safe passage from Mariupol. And all those 3 times, Russia continued shelling. And now we see horrible images from the maternity hospital, from the children's hospital, from the university destroyed. So Russia is continuing attacking the city, and it looks like their main message is that they're not going to let people out.
Alexei, you say that it is important to pay attention to the city of Mykolaiv is currently being encircled by Russian troops. But do Ukrainians have what they need to fight for this city?
Yes, currently we look that Russians are advancing in the south, and the regional capital of Mykolaiv is going to be the next hotspot. According to the governor and the mayor of the city is ready, the city is preparing. There are Ukrainian troops ready to defend the city, but the city right now is going to be the most important part of Ukraine because it's a direct road to Odessa. Odessa is one of the largest Ukrainian cities, the port city of Odessa. And also if Mykolaiv falls, then basically there's a direct road to Kyiv.
Wow. A senior official in Kyiv, in the Kyiv region, I should say, there are cars lined up for miles as people try to escape. How hard is it for Ukrainians to leave Kyiv right now?
It's been very hard to leave Kyiv since the start of the war. Kyiv was home to over 3 million people. Right now, we know that the Russians are stationed in the northwest suburbs of Kyiv. They're occupied. There's also a humanitarian catastrophe there with people trying to flee Bucha, Irpin, Gostomel. Once those cities were once prosperous suburbs of Kyiv. So people understand that Russians are close, they're trying to flee, and obviously we see traffic jams to Western Ukraine, and some people tell me that it took them 3 days to travel from Kiev to a safe haven in Western Ukraine.
As of now, you're in a safer location, but you're still in a country at war. As you report on all this shelling in so many Ukrainian cities, do you worry that at some point that nowhere will be safe? We were speaking to people who said, we feel safer in Lviv, or we feel safer here. But are we getting to a point, are you getting to a point where nowhere is really safe? Are we getting to a point, are you getting to a point where nowhere is really safe?
Well, despite Ukrainian victories, and we know that Russians are facing substantial casualties, we also don't see Russia slowing down. We don't see that Russia is stopping. And unfortunately, we understand that Russia has more soldiers, more planes, more tanks. And if this continues, it's a matter of time that all of Ukraine is going to be covered by war.
Yeah. Alexei, thank you. I appreciate you joining us. Please be safe. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So we're getting some new video of fighting in the streets of a city in southeastern Ukraine. This is from earlier today. Watch this. So that was Ukrainian forces using soldier-fired missiles. And joining me now is Defense Secretary, the former Defense Secretary, William Cohen. Always happy to have you, and I always learn so much from you. So thank you, Secretary. We appreciate it. The Ukrainians are putting up really a fierce resistance. But today we saw Putin's forces are willing to strike women and children in hospitals, babies, right? Unborn babies. And now the White House is warning that Russia could use chemical weapons in Ukraine. With a madman calling the shots, what can the rest of the world do?
Well, we can hold the course. At this particular point, I can tell you in this household, there are 1,000 tears that are shed every night. I've got members of my family who can't sleep, and they're spread around the country. Everybody is touched to the core with heartbreak over what Putin is doing. I think we have to be careful. I've heard a number of commentators say that this is just the way that Russia operates. This is their kind of war. When we normalize it, saying this is how they do it, it becomes more acceptable, I guess, on the international stage. But this is not the way you do it in the 21st century. And this is barbarism at its very core. And so the rest of the world has to stand up and do what we can. I'm angry most of the time, but this is a cool medium. And anger is said to blow out the lamp of the mind. And I have to try to maintain, and hopefully all of our leaders do, maintain as much control as we can under circumstances that are barbaric. Right now, there's a debate that continues to rage. Can we have a partial no-fly zone? And I don't know how you define that. I don't know how you go from partial to full, given the either the inexperience of the conscripts who are in the front lines or some of the generals who are now ordering these missile shots from 15, 20, 30 miles away. I think what we have to do is continue to give the Ukrainian people as much support as we can, keep pouring in the air defense systems that we have and the Stinger missiles and the ability to take out tanks with the Javelin and other types of perhaps armed UAVs so that we can put them over the skies and see the Russian troops and hit them where they are, but not putting aircraft in the air beyond what they have now as far as the Ukrainian Air Force. So I think we're trying to really thread the needle here, but it may come to a point in time where we're no longer able to say this is acceptable. This is a red line that you cannot cross. Right now, Putin is the only one drawing red lines, saying if you try to put any kind of air defense equipment in or aircraft in, that's a red line. Mm-hmm. So he keeps drawing red lines, and we keep waiting to see how far he's going to go. Should he use chemical weapons? And he's done it before. They've had anthrax facilities. They produce VX, sarin gas, and other types of chemicals. They've used them. He's used them. So we have to say that I don't know if we'll draw a red line there, but that comes awfully close to a nuclear type of use on his part on a tactical basis.
Well, he's already raised the specter of the possibility of nuclear weapons, and now there's this possibility that the White House is warning that he could use chemical weapons. And then, but listen, that's a possibility. What we know right now is that they bombed a maternity hospital. And the Ukrainian President Zelensky says that the maternity hospital strike is proof, Secretary, of genocide of Ukrainians. He has been pleading with NATO to establish that no-fly zone over Ukraine. And I know the fear is of triggering a wider war. But is there a point that where this needs to be considered? Or as you said, should we stay the course? Should America, should NATO, should everyone stay the course with now? And not even a partial, as you say, or a limited no-fly zone?
Well, if someone can explain to me how you can construct a limited no-fly zone that doesn't spill over into a full-scale.
And one mistake with a limited no-fly zone can escalate into just something that's atrocious. But go on, please.
The take is for the Russians to shoot at our limited no-fly zone, to take one of our aircraft out, or for us to take them out, for Putin to then say you have declared war against Russia and then expand it. Now, I don't know, as heartbroken as the American people are, I don't know how many of the American people would say it's time to risk going to war with Russia. That perhaps he is just bluffing. There's an old expression that, a bluff that's taken seriously can be helpful, but a threat that is not taken seriously can be catastrophic, a serious threat that we ignore. I think we have to walk very carefully here before we say, Mr. Putin, you have crossed the line, and now we're prepared to take action against your forces on the ground or your forces in the air. I think that's something that the American people will not support, and I don't think the American leadership is going to support that. So the question is, can we keep the Ukrainian people alive long enough for these sanctions to really hit the Russian people? Because that is what is going to change this war, is when the Russian people see the truth, when they see what their president is doing to their fellow citizens, committing, fratricide and the potential of matricide in terms of Mother Earth. When they see this, because they're not seeing it now, when they see this, they will take to the streets in tens of thousands. And already there are thousands of people who are risking going to the Gulag because they're demonstrating on streets of Russia. So I think we have to keep the pressure up, intensify it if we can on the sanctions part of it. Sanctions won't change everything. They're going to make life very hard for the Russian people, and hopefully they will take to the streets at that point.
But I hope I'm sure the people who are in Ukraine dealing with this are saying that's going to, as you said, that's going to take time. And I don't know if time is really on their side at this point. We'll have to talk to you more another time. Thank you, Secretary. I appreciate you joining us this evening. Thanks so much.